Hello everyone, this is Sajin again, and I'm continuing the Returning to Summoner's War video series with my latest video today, which is going to be talking about things I've noticed that really should be improved upon as a returning player when it comes to Summoner's War. Like being back for 3 months now, just a little over 3 months, even though I'm having a great time playing the game and farming and improving my rune quality, there's a few things that are annoyances that have been around for more than likely like 6 or 7 years since the release of the game. So people that have been consistently playing this whole entire time probably know all about these things. But if you're a returning player, these things might start to really come to the forefront of your mind when it comes to like annoyances and things that they really should fix, because a lot of it seems really simple, and a lot of it would not just improve our quality of life, but the quality of life for all the players who've dedicated their lives to this game. So I have 5 things that came to mind. So let's talk about the first thing. And it's probably something that'll be welcomed by the whole community, I believe, which is increasing the crafting amount for re-app stones and the ancient re-app stones as well. Currently, you can only make 3 of the regular and 2 of the ancient, so that's per week. So you only have 3 re-apps per week, and as you know and as I know, the chances of you getting anything worth a damn from these re-apps it's slim to none. I've seen YouTube videos and Twitch streams of people doing like mass re-apps for either themselves or for some of their subscribers, and they can go through like 50 or 100 re-apps and literally get nothing that's worthwhile to keep. And I mean, not, I'm just like, even if you're just like aiming for like a rune to go from no speed to like 20 speed, I've seen dozens and dozens of re-apps accomplish literally nothing. And re-apps are, number one, they're rare. And if you buy them, of course, they can be really pricey as far as getting them from packs. So I think to improve our ability to compete, to our ability to just play the game at other people's levels and make the best of the runes that we currently have, increasing the re-apps, the limit of the crafting amount would be a huge boon for us. And I mean, and if anyone has an argument that increasing like re-app availability would be like overpowered, quote unquote, I mean, you can just simply reference the fact that if you were to give that person who didn't want to see the limit increase 5 re-apps right now for free and have them re-app a rune 5 times, I mean, the RNG is not going to be in anyone's favor. But just increase our ability just to have a little bit more, to increase our chances of getting something usable. The RNG itself keeps them from being overpowered, right? That's what I truly believe. What I think happens as far as like re-app abuse is when like there was this kind of a scandal where even though the re-app pack, which is not currently available now, no, but it's the pack that costs $30 that allows you to get 5 re-app stones plus like 750 crystals. Well, the limit for that purchase is 10 times. There was a time where like people on the Chinese server figured out when they got to the 10th purchase that they are still able to buy more and more and more and more. So I think from that point on, regular people like you and me, started to understand that what set the top tier RTA players apart from everyone else was having access to large amounts, hundreds and hundreds of re-app stones that can turn a rune from like 10 speed into like 30 speed eventually, perhaps. So that was kind of, I guess that could be in the forefront of people's minds as far as like, okay, I don't want to have people with more access to re-apps. But the reality is, on a smaller scale, like a handful more re-apps per month would go a long way to people who have a lot of runes that are kind of average, or runes that they've kept from before re-app stones were even around, to turn them into something usable, to turn them into something that can allow them to do more content and compete on the RTA level. So that's my first recommendation. The re-apps and the ancient re-apps, just having their limits increased in the crafting area, just even, let's say, by 2 a week each, right? I think that would go a long way. Okay, so let's talk about another thing that's really limited as far as quantity goes. And our second point is, I think Com2Us needs to improve the regeneration or the availability of dimensional hole energy. Now, for returning players like you and me, we really see the dimensional hole as just the dungeons to awaken our monsters, like our Trikaru team and stuff like that. And yes, like, I mean, for the first couple of months, like the first 2 months or so, it's going to be just that. You're just going to be, leveling up random secondary awakened monsters, your Crow, your Belladon, and things like that. So you can have a little bit more competitive monsters that don't cost you much money at all, really. And I don't have an issue with that. But the issue I do have with it is that it regenerates really slowly. It's like one every 2-ish hours. So in a day, you're getting like 20 something, I believe. And yeah, I understand that when the monsters, the secondary awakened monsters first came out, they didn't want just like the whole server to be done with the content in one day, right? They didn't want to have dimensional hole energy so accessible at that point in time that all this content they worked on developing these dungeons and the monsters and their skills and their animations and their appearance and the models and stuff like that. They didn't want people just to take it for granted and just like, okay, I got all the new content done in one day. I get that. But that was years ago. And now this is a totally different scenario now where the game is very old, but people have been playing the game consistently. So if you return to the game after many, many years of being away, this is a huge roadblock. It's a huge obstacle to getting into the groove of, farming, getting your TOA content done, getting your Rift raid, your solo raid done. So I think that, yes, dimensional hole energy, if you look at it from an end player's perspective, is one of the most important resources of the game after re-app stones. And the reason, if you don't know why, it's because they farm this dungeon, the Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies, which drops really great, well, potentially great, Swift Despair and Will runes that are ancient. So they have higher stats, potentially. So I get that is really important, but people that have been playing the game for years have already been farming this dungeon for years. So for players like you and me, not only do we have to get through, awakening all our monsters, but we also have to get our ancient runes, our ancient rune quality kind of develop. We have to create depth in that type of rune, not just regular runes, because when you go up against people that are PvPing and RTA, you're going to have a handful of ancient runes, especially on their Swift monsters, especially on monsters with that will. A lot of people farm strictly will runes from this dungeon. I mean, not strictly, but they look out for will runes and really go for it because will runes are so flexible. They can put on any monster, right? Be it Violent, Swift, Despair. You toss it on anything. So the potential to have runes of over 30 speed from these dungeons, I get that's a very powerful resource. But for players like you and me who don't have any of these runes, I think increasing the regeneration can be a big deal for us. Now, maybe that is still too powerful for players who already have really deep like monster and rune quality. So maybe we don't. Maybe Com2Us doesn't increase the regeneration amount, but actually for returning players gives us returning players access to it a little bit easier. And what ways can that be done? Every time a player leaves the game and comes back, you're probably familiar with the whole new player, returning player monthly event. Now I don't have that event, but it's pretty common for like 25 or like 28 days, I believe, that you have all these like check-in like bonuses. So I think in the returning player event, you should have like weekly access to large amounts of dimensional hole energy. Now, what does large amounts mean? I mean a couple dozen, maybe like 30 a week. Something that allows you to, as a returning player, get through all your monsters that you need to awaken, all your Trikarus and stuff like that, your GB12 team, your utility monsters like Belladon. Let's get them done. And let's get to farming runes in Alunia. Like, I think after you make your 2 dungeon teams, your Icarus, your South, and Tattoo, just be done with it. No more secondary awakening stuff. Maybe even just try to get to like farming as soon as possible. There could be even maybe like a pack that we could buy, where we can buy like dimensional hole energy, or just give energy just through general events. Like we have it's very common to get, like 200,000 mana stones and 100 energy a day from your events. But why is it that none of these rewards are dimensional hole energy? It speaks to a lot of the value of it, yeah. But at the same time, if we have Devilmon from awards, like, I mean, we have Reap stones from rewards, like we have like 35 scrolls from rewards. Like, why can't we get a little bit of dimensional hole energy? They're willing to give you a 6-star legendary rune guaranteed. They're willing to give you a super Angelmon, right, from events, but you never see dimensional hole energy. And as a returning player, every time I get a decent rune from dimensional hole, it's pretty damn good, and it's really, really powerful. Now, yeah, it makes players who've been playing the game a long time have more access to it too. But like I said before, they already have a bunch of great ancient runes. Like, they already have great depth. Like, you can only put so many runes on a monster, right? Like, if you have a violent monster, you can only put 2 ancient runes, 2 ancient will runes. You can't put 6 ancient runes on a violent monster, because violent doesn't have any ancient runes, and I don't think they're ever going to make violent ancient runes. Now that I think about it, if violent ancient runes came out, maybe dimensional hole energy would be just way too powerful. I mean, way too powerful. So that's my second point. Just dimensional hole energy, maybe tweak the regeneration, tweak the availability for returning players. I don't know how you create a cutoff, like when can you stop giving a player dimensional energy? But the reality is, I'll take anything you can give me. And any returning player would say the same thing, because they have to farm so much to get their dungeon teams going. Okay, let's move on to the third point. And the third point is going to be talking about skilling up monsters. I think Com2Us can really improve the ability for us to skill up monsters. When I came back to the game, this monster, Kaki, I didn't know what an Onimusha was. I just, when I came back to the game, I summoned monsters, but I never got one. And I started noticing them a lot just through YouTube videos of people saying how overpowered they were. And earlier this year in 2021, when they came out, man, there was so much drama revolving around Kaki, to the point where Com2Us out of nowhere said, okay, we're going to address the Kaki issue. Kaki is too powerful. We're going to nerf Kaki somehow, some way. And then there was a whole hubbub of all these Korean guilds, very strong, heavy investors in the game, came out and said, like, we're going to literally quit playing or quit spending on Summer's War, because we invested so much into our Onimushas that it's incredibly unfair. We need to put our foot down and come together as a whole, almost like a union, and say, Com2Us, you can't do this. And Com2Us immediately buckled to the pressure of these heavy hitters and heavy spenders, and came out with a process to refund with Devilmon skill ups for Onimushas. So they had this whole back end created through their website that you could make your claim and say, look, I want my skill ups back from my Onimushas. But what it kind of brings to the forefront an issue that it's like, Kaki is not a 5-star monster. Kaki is a 4-star monster, natural 4-star. And it was so powerful, and you can even make an argument now that if you pulled a light 4-star Onimusha, which is Kinky, that if you put Devilmon in Kinky, people wouldn't really give you a lot of crap. They'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Kinky can be pretty good, especially at lower tiers of the RTA ranks. It can carry you very well into C1 from nothing. So I'm getting to the point. The point I'm getting to is that we can't put Devilmon into natural 4-star monsters. I mean, generally you just don't do it. It's very frowned upon, just because it's one of the rare resources in the game. I mean, from the perspective of a free-to-play player getting Devilmon per month, like, how much do you get really? You get 2 from TOA. You can buy 4 a month from the Glory Shop. There's events that but give Devilmon on an occasion, like once a month or twice a month. So maybe you get maybe you can get in a month like 8 Devilmon. But 8 Devilmon won't even skill up one 5-star monster. And if you had 8 Devilmon right now, you couldn't skill up your Kaki. So if you're saying to me that I have to make a choice to put Devilmon to a 4-star monster to make it viable, I mean, it's not reasonable. So the solution here, I think, what Com2Us can do to improve this area is simply make a new type of monster material similar to Devilmon and Angelmon that strictly scales up 4-star monsters. So I don't know what you want to call it. You can call it a Demonmon instead of a Devilmon, but it's some type of material that gives skill ups to 4 stars. Now, I think people have been talking about this for years and years and years, and it seems like they can easily do it. But in their mind, from the company's perspective, they're like, well, I want people to buy Devilmon to skill up their Nat 4s. Well, the reality is we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Most of us are never going to put a Devilmon in a Nat 4 unless it's a light and dark monster. So if they want to make it so that for us to get Demonmon, we have to spend money, I'm pretty sure some people would do it as long as the price for the Demonmon, quote unquote Demonmon, would be comparable, not comparable, but reduced in cost compared to a Devilmon. Like, it's hard to put a price on a Devilmon, but let's say they have that monthly pack that comes with like 4 Devilmon. Is it like 4 Devilmon for like $40 or $50? So let's say a Devilmon is worth like $12. Make a Demonmon worth $6, quote unquote $6, in some way, some pack. And I think you'd have people spend a little bit of money to do it. But at the same time, you can't have Demonmon just available by purchasing. It has to be dropped somewhere in the game as well. And I think this would be a huge way to make farming certain things more so rewarding. And those things I would recommend is perhaps like 1 drop in TOA, like you can tack it on to like the 50th level, but also have them drop in the World Boss and Rift Beast. I think if you can, they're not guaranteed drops, of course, but if you can add them to the pool and have a decent drop amount for them, you can make Rift Beast farming much more reasonable than it is now. Like, people don't really want to farm Rift Beast because it's just slow. Like, it's a fixed like speed. There's no way to speed run a Rift Beast, right? You're just doing damage as much as you can, and it ends in X amount of time, and you're like not even getting that much mana stones from it, and you're potentially getting really crappy drops. So if they were to tweak the Rift Beast and World Boss drops to have these type of Demonmon or 4-star Devilmon, I think it would go a long way to addressing the skill up issue, and it would, I think, make a lot more monsters reasonable to play. Because if you want to make a 4-star monster that's, it seems good on paper, but if you don't have the skills for it, you can't reproduce the results from your favorite YouTube video content maker who's playing with 4-star monsters that are fully skilled up. And you're like, look, I have like 1 mermaid. Okay, I my Molly is unskilled, or like my Tetra is completely unskilled, and like, yeah, it still works, but imagine if it was fully skilled, especially in monsters that you really need to be fully skilled for guild content, like siege battles, etc. So that's my 3rd point. And let's move on to the 4th point, which kind of plays off the idea of drops. And the 4th point I want to make is improving like trash rune drops. I don't mean to improve trash runes because you can just make better runes. What I mean is removing them from the game. And the areas I want them removed from the game is 100%. Number 1, World Boss. But number 2 would be the Rift Beast again. I think Rift Beasts drop a lot of crap 5-star runes that I would never touch. And they drop those runes that you likely would never use. I mean, like, rarely will you ever use Enhance, and rarely would you ever use Tolerance runes anywhere in the game. So when they drop, they're like, they suck, and really like mucks up the drop pool for these types of dungeons, and makes people not want to farm them. It's kind of like useless content. It's not completely useless, but you know what I mean. People can get determination runes from these things as well, which are really good. And the last thing, that maybe the biggest thing, is removing trash runes from crafted runes. So when you craft high runes, it doesn't make sense. I'm crafting a high rune, but I can get 5-star blue runes from crafted runes. It's infuriating. It's a waste of resources. And the reason why it's a waste of resources is this: when you're doing a regular dungeon run, when you're just going to farming dragons, you can potentially get crafting pieces that are only 4 in quantity. 4 in quantity. It takes 18 main resources, then like 6 sub resources to craft 1 rune. So we're talking 24 total rune pieces to craft, and it's like 24 divided by 4, it's 6. I can do 6 dungeon runs, and I can get 4 drops, 4 pieces per run. It's happened. I'm sure you guys seen yourself in your results here in your auto farm that half the drops you get are like those pieces, and it's like, okay, these essences are not worth their weight at all, and it makes farming dungeons itself less efficient, and it makes crafting even worse, because if you have to do 6-7 runs to craft 1 rune that's a blue rune, it's like, no, that's terrible. It'll be so much more worth it if you can at least guarantee blue runes. I'm sorry, 6-star runes that are blue in these crafted high runes. Ideally, I still wouldn't use a lot of those things, but the money to craft is 15,000 mana stones. And as a returning player, you're not going to have millions of extra mana all the time. You're not. Like, I know that some people watch their favorite streamer and see that in their top right hand corner they have 900 million mana stones. But as a returning player, I can tell you that's never going to happen for you for a long time. Because you need to spend a lot of money leveling up a lot of runes that you're going to be getting. You won't have that huge bank. So crafting runes at 15,000 a click and then selling them for 7,000, it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. So I think that should be, let's craft one right now. That should be, and there we go. That's great evidence of what do you do with that? It costs 15,000 plus multiple runs of drops for essences and pieces. And then you spend 15,000 to sell for 7,400. That's crazy. And that should not be in the game. So to go over the 4th point is remove less than 6-star runes from crafting, from rift beasts, and from the world boss. It seems like such an easy fix. And recently, right before this video was made, they addressed the labyrinth issue as far as the quality of drops in labyrinth. So I think they might be on the right path when it comes to slowly getting around to fixing drop quality. If you do labyrinth now, you're more likely to get really decent immortal gems from the bosses, I believe, and the overall quality of drops from high-end finishes of regular dungeons like hell or hard, they definitely been improved from my experience. So it took them 7 years to do that or whatever. So I think they should kind of speed up the process. I do wonder at times, what kind of investment do they have in the game as far as the developers who work on this specific title, because Com2Us has a lot of games. They just don't have Summoners War. They have a lot of games, and they're working on a new game for Summoners War called Summoners War Chronicles, which would be more MMORPG type perspective, not turn-based Monster Collection. So I get that they have their hands in so many different pots here, but they really should make these easy changes, quote unquote easy changes, just to make our lives easier. And as a returning player, if you didn't have to go through all the traumatic waste of resources that is crafting and world boss rewards and rift beast rewards, I think it can help us catch up better and get back into the game and not dissuade us from continuing playing the game when we come back, right? Because if you're a returning player and you're having to face all these issues with I can't level up my monsters, I can't get good runes. If you can just get good runes, I think life will be a lot easier. And I think it'll be a welcome change for everybody, even players who've been playing a very long time. Okay, let's get to the last one I have, something I thought about, which is the ability to purchase or come out with more events that allow us to choose Hall of Hero events from the past and do them right now. So if you've been gone for years like me, you've missed out on a lot of great Hall of Hero events that would allow you, number one, to have the monster in the first place, and number two, skill up monsters you already have. Now, what monsters do I want pretty badly that I completely miss Hall of Heroes for? The Dark Blade Dancer, Verisa. Where can I find Verisa at? Now, Verisa is a AoE strip monster that, guys, do you see it? Does anyone see it? I'm blind. It should be recent, right? It should be dark. It should be Blade Dancer. Why don't I see it? Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. Right before the Robo. Okay, so Verisa has a strip. It has pushback. So all this, it has strip and attack bar manipulation. So you'll see Verisas a lot in like arena defenses, but you also see them being used, her being used as an AoE strip in RTA. I've seen it a couple times in like cleave teams as well. I would love to have this monster. I do not have it. But if Com2Us wanted to make a little bit more money, if they just had the ability, like they would say, okay, for $29.99, we'll give you 700 crystals and the ability to choose a Hall of Heroes of your choice. And you can do like, all 10 levels and get, 5 monsters, right? But I wonder if $30 for 5 Nat 4s isn't enough money for them. But who cares? Come out with the ability to do it at least. Or they can come out with events where we get to choose our Hall of Heroes again, like ones that, like any Hall of Heroes. Like there have been events where you get to choose like 5 previous Hall of Heroes. Like choose one for yourself. Look, I want to be able to choose like any of them. Like if you want money from us, like why can't we just give us the ability to choose any of them? But Verisa isn't the only one that you guys would probably want. I mean, with the change of the Wind Anubis, Ayunu was a Hall of Heroes, and it has a great passive which revives and brands. It's like amazing for solo R5, and I think we need to have more of these monsters. I noticed though when they did change Anubis, the Wind Anubis summoning rate, I truly believe was increased because I summoned like 4 of them in like a month. Another one that's really good that we'd probably want if you don't have already, or if you just want skill ups for any mermaid, is Tetra. Tetra isn't as strong as because it's mostly just like a counter unit to certain debuffing type of monsters or bombers. But having just Tetras at all to skill up your Molly, or just to make your Tetra better, or to give you a Tetra in the first place, to be like perfect. Another good monster that was a Hall of Heroes that some of you would probably want too is going to be the Fire Puree. Where is she at? Maybe I never made one. Well, it's Clara. So it has the ability to strip. And another one would be, what's another one? Oh yeah, another stripper would be the Dark Kobold that strips into a silence. So the bearing can strip into a silence. So that's really powerful. But the base speed is a little bit lower than the 2 previous strippers. It's slower than Clara, it's slower than Verisa. But it's still a cool monster to have. And if you want to skill up other monsters, why not? Another good counter pick unit that was once a Hall of Heroes would be Cyan, the blue Joker, who revives when he dies with immunity and invincibility. So even if you don't, like you pick Cyan and like, let's say they kill him before you get the ability to place the AoE bomb, when he comes back to life, you most likely can place it and maybe win against a team that has no immunity in RTA. So Cyan's really good. Another great monster was the Fire Sniper. Carcano is like a staple in guild content. It's a good speed lead and like an automatic like armor debuffer. So you would want that. And two other good ones are going to be they're kind of counter picks in the same vein as the last 2 monsters I talked about. Not him, sorry. It's going to be Antares, which Antares has the ability to proc a turn every time the opponent takes a turn. So that's great for monsters that take a lot of turns, like Diana. Along with the blue version, Rigel, which is like going to be a great way to counter things that CC a lot because he's immune to inability effects. So having the ability to access these monsters is almost like necessary to be decent in RTA, because if you don't have a good collection of strippers, and if you don't have a good collection of counters, it makes RTA pretty hard. So I think that would be a great way to improve the game for returning players who've missed years and years of Hall of Heroes, is just the ability to pick one, give them money, or come out with events that allow us to pick Hall of Heroes of any sort for the past couple of years that we missed. So those are my points. I hope it's enlightening, and maybe I doubt that Com2Us would ever listen to me, but it's something that if more people would understand, maybe they can all start coming together, start asking for better changes to the game. But over the past couple months, I've noticed kind of a shift in the speed that things are being addressed. So I appreciate that from Com2Us, but I think this would be a good stepping stone towards a game that's friendlier to players who are either new or players who are returning. So thanks so much for listening, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.